Poland is a country in Eastern Europe, known for its beautiful nature and cities, cheap labor force, spelling contests, and being passed around like a blunt throughout history. The most recent sesh involved the Soviet Union, that held an oppressive guerrilla grip over the Eastern Bloc, grinding their precious resources into uneatable slop, and suppressing their freedom of gaming, but apparently not their right to Pizza Hut. But this all changed in 1991. When the USSR collapsed harder than your dad's prostate, and the East was finally allowed to go gamer mode. But like they had to learn a new whole system and culture, so they had to learn how to game. Including Poland, that truly got its game on in 2007. But before that, there was a Pole who decided to submit a short story to a fantasy magazine in 1986. This story was named Wiedźmin, which would later be translated into The Witcher. A story about a professional monster slayer named Geralt of Rivia, who takes upon the job to free a local monarch's daughter of a curse. This short set the precedent of what would become one of Poland's biggest cultural exports, and a hallmark in Eastern European pop culture, even spawning an alright TV series adaptation in 2002. But for most of the series' existence, it has been largely unknown outside of Europe, until some gamers got permission from Mr. Sapkowski to adopt his work into a game, reportedly paying him a total sum of 2 cases of Tuskis and a 1-year supply of pickles. Sapkowski would later regret he didn't ask for 3 cases of Tuskis after the success of the games. It was CD Projekt Red that took upon themselves the task of adopting the beloved series into a game, but they were not the first ones. A similar project took place in the 90s but never got finished. CD Projekt's Project Ditto being their first game ever, and after a few years of development and a couple of annexations of Poland later, the world was introduced to the Witcher role-playing game in 2007, with the first English translation of the first book being released a few months prior. The games take place after the end of the books, and the entire story of the games is one big spoiler of the books. So put this video on hold and read all 8 books, and maybe Season of Storms if you feel so inclined, and come back. But long story short, Geralt fucking dies at the end of the series. And the game starts out with him panting, running through a forest, whilst voices call out his name, until he collapses and is picked up by friends. Geralt gets taken to Kaer Morhen, one of several home bases and schools of the Witchers, Kaer Morhen being the school of the wolf. A Witcher is a mutated monster hunter, specifically made to combat the monster infestation in the world, an infestation that came through a portal from another world. But as the years went by and the monsters got fewer in number, the Witchers were less needed, and their reputation and keeps decayed. The world turned on them, and fear and prejudice took a seat. A Witcher is typically a child taken in by another Witcher as payment for a job the local peasants couldn't afford to pay in coin. The child later undergoing experiments and trials, including mutations, turning him into a machine made to kill monsters. Appearing as a man but not, very few survived the trials and mutations. Their reflexes, strength, and overall endurance was far greater than the average man, and in myths, their emotions are even further removed. They are not mystical figures, but rather professionals, in the same way as a carpenter or a plumber, and the same stereotypes that get thrown around about those traits get thrown around about the Witcher trait as well. At the keep of Kaer Morhen, Geralt encounters several people from his past life, such as Vesemir, his old teacher, Lambert and Eskel, his Witcher friends, and the sorceress Triss Marigold. Just a friend. No, seriously, just a friend, despite whatever she wants you to believe. Oh, and also Leo, a Witcher apprentice. Geralt suffers from amnesia and needs to regain it, and this is one of the main plot points of the first 2 Witcher games. Very convenient for those filthy gamers, so they don't have to read through 9 books and maybe have an actual FUD occur for once. Kaer Morhen is attacked by a bandit group named Salamandra, led by Azar Javed and the Professor. Yeah, it's goofy as fuck, shut the hell up. Who seek the Witcher's secrets behind their mutations. Geralt and the others fight off the bandits, but don't stop them from stealing the Witcher's secrets and killing Leo. Geralt and the other Witchers set off in each their own direction, in search of Salamandra and to stop the Professor and Azar Javed.
I don't even know who that is.
Oh, he's a dirty, dirty man. He needs to be punished.
What makes him dirty? Is he not a bath or something?
Well, he's Turkish for one.
And Geralt heads to Temeria, whose king he helped years ago in freeing his daughter from a curse. He heads to Vizima, the capital, and questions the locals about Salamandra and their overall life experiences.
I just woke up in a fucking steaming mood, yeah? Because I live in a shithole! It's a fucking shithole! I hate the fucking place!
Incredible. Vizima boasts a bad neighborhood.
He arrives in the outskirts, that funnily enough is being haunted by phantom hounds, that may or may not have been summoned by some bitch, or just because of the general shittiness of the local populace. So now Geralt not only has to find Salamandra, he also needs to solve this monster problem, and potentially help solve the issues in the local community, which is a common theme in the series, and what makes up the core of the gameplay. There's also some kid prophesizing the end of the world, 1 minute after his mom got eaten by a couple of hellhounds. You'd think the combat in a game about a monster slayer would be fast and exciting, but rather it's slow and based on patience and preparation. Combat is like this: you click on the enemy, a cool animation plays, and Geralt sounds like your pet throwing up when fighting. And then your mouse will suddenly be in flames, which means you need to click the enemy again before the flame disappears. And then an even cooler animation plays and you deal more damage. And then you just keep doing this. Geralt has 3 fighting styles that you can switch between. One for light enemies, another for heavy ones, and one for groups. And the slashing sounds in the group style is amazing. The combat isn't very complex, but it still somehow manages to keep you entertained through the sound effects, animations, and though it's only 1, 2, 3 clicks at most, the fact that attacks work on timing makes the player more engaged with what's happening, and the game through all of this, despite the limited gameplay, still translates a weight to each attack. Other than fighting styles, Geralt has 2 weapons, a steel sword for humanoids and a silver one for monsters, and you have to remember to pick the right one every time you encounter an enemy, as not to look silly in front of the ghouls and bandits. You can actually carry many different weapons at once, but I never found any use for them since most of them are either weaker or slower than your swords, and at times feels more like a gimmick, but an attempt was made at complexity, and I appreciate that. You can't block or parry manually. You can kinda dodge by clicking on your foe and attacking them, and then quickly disengaging afterwards, before they hit back, but other than that, your defense and damage output is dependent on how you upgrade Geralt. You can for example make him dodge attacks easier or make him deal more bleed damage, but not everyone can afford upgrades in this economy, so luckily there is another huge part of gameplay we haven't discussed. Potions. Yes, dear viewer, every member of society gets their very own substance abuse. Men get energy drinks, women get Diet Coke, and witches get potions made with questionable ingredients. In order to perform better in combat, Geralt must consume potions, each granting Geralt a unique ability. Swallow makes your health regenerate faster. Cat lets you see in pitch darkness, perfect for dungeons. Thunderbolt increases your damage significantly, but makes dodging and parrying impossible. And Black Blood makes your blood poisonous to vampires. And there are many more. But hold on there, buddy, don't just drink all of them. These potions are toxic. One of the reasons witches get their mutations is not only to be faster and stronger than the average man, but in order to withstand the toxic effects of their potions that grant them so many abilities. There is a toxicity meter, and depending on the potion and how many you consume, it rises. And if it totally fills up, Geralt starts acting up like a dog that just ate chocolate, and collapses like the Soviet Union. Potions last for a while, and if you don't want to wait for the effects to wear off in order to consume other potions, simply drink the white honey potion to get rid of all toxicity and effects. Other ways to boost combat performance is with various weapon oils, with their own effects, and some doing extra damage to specific monster types. In order to have potions and oils, you need ingredients you can brew them with. But it's not that simple. First you need to learn what the ingredients are and look like. And you do that through books and scrolls that you either buy or find. Too bad the books cost fucking 200 orange each. But knowledge is power. You need to put a bronze point in the herbalism skill as soon as you can, by the way. It's important. In order to enter the menu to brew potions and enter alchemy, you need to make Geralt meditate. You can do this at campfires, inns, or people of interest. The meditative state is also where you can upgrade Geralt, and also make time pass if you for example have a quest at midnight, and generally just shut the world off.
Your turn to die!
And remember to always have strong alcohol on you, not only for coping, but because alcohol makes the base for potions. So all your sword and drink your potions. But wait, that's not all, we haven't even talked about signs. The witchers aren't mages, but are still able to cast simple spells with signs that they make with their hand. So you'll be in the middle of combat, and Geralt will just start throwing gang signs, and suddenly everyone is burning. And all signs are useful at one point or another, especially Igni and Art. There is a big variety of enemies and monsters, and you can read all about them in your bestiary, about each one's specific weaknesses, like what oil to coat your sword with, and which potions to consume before combat. But you guessed it, in order to obtain this information, you're gonna need to buy some books. So how does a Witcher boy get Orange in the absolute state that is Temeria?
I hate the fucking place!
Option 1. Leave. Option 2. Get questing. In the world of The Witcher you can't go 5 minutes without your neighbor getting disemboweled and taxidermized into a rocking chair by ghouls and shit. But the monsters are selling the chair for 40 orange, so your broke ass is considering about buying it. Wherever you go, there will be a notice board where you can pick up Witcher contracts and get some.
Money. Here you go. Look.
Some are great and original and are reminiscent of the original Witcher short stories from the books, with multiple choices and alternative paths to be taken during it. And then there'll be quests where you have to collect 10 Drowner balls for some guy named Kalkstein. Actually, that's most of them.
And what am I doing? Sitting in this dump and drinking alcohol?
But cash is cash, and this potion abuse doesn't pay for itself. Pro Witcher tip. If you're being attacked by monsters and guards are in the area, lead the monsters to the guards and let them kill each other, and then loot all of them for extra profit. A trademark of the Witcher series is its moral ambiguity. Geralt often finds himself in situations where there is no correct answer, only decisions and compromises. An example of this is at the end of chapter 1 of the game. There is a plague raging in Vizima, and though Geralt is resistant as a Witcher, he still needs a letter of passage, and in order to get it, he needs to help out the happiest men in Vizima sort out their problems, both trivial and Hellhound related. He comes to the conclusion that the Hellhound spawn because of the malice of the local populace, but the villagers think otherwise, and form a lynch mob against the local witch, Abigail, who Geralt has been working alongside with in the village to discover the truth. That the villagers have helped out Salamandra, selling children and supplies to them, dwelling in other sins as well.
Salamandra must be based in...
But most of them claim they were tempted or bewitched by Abigail, but they have little evidence. One claims she put him under her spell and made him kill his brother, and unlike with the other cases, you find actual evidence of this in Abigail's hut. There is a voodoo doll of the man that she may or may not have used to control him and make him kill his brother. In her hut, you also find a book on the cult of the lion-headed spider, a cult worshipping a god of death, and whose followers are expected to make bloody sacrifices to their cruel god. And that god, according to the wiki, is the patron of death, cruelty, and destiny. It can't be passed off merely as research that Abigail does in her spare time. But if you choose to let the lynch mob take Abigail, she curses you in the name of the lion-headed spider, confirming her membership.
Curse you, White Wolf! I curse all you filthy murderers! I curse you in the name of the lion-headed spider, the Black Legba!
She also willingly sowed poison to the villagers, no questions asked, that depending on your views, does or doesn't make her guilty of murder. It can be argued that Abigail was merely acting out against the villagers, who Geralt has found out are horrible people, or it may just be who she is, but either way, neither party appear innocent, although there is more solid evidence against the villagers, and the game asks the player to decide, which is the lesser evil. If you choose to take Abigail's side against the lynch mob, you will have to kill every man, and what does that make you?
There she is! Burn! Burn the foul witch!
No one is burning anyone. You have two options. Wait until I leave and then murder Abigail, but then I'll come back. I'll slay every lice-ridden peasant, anything that moves and can't climb a tree.
But if you choose to side with the lynch mob, you will let Abigail die a cruel death. Either option will have you thinking and pondering whether or not you made the right choice. And you will feel bad, no matter what. There's also a point in the game where an old man asks you to follow him to a shrine in the swamp and protect him from the monsters on the way. And on the way to the shrine you find out that he is very knowledgeable about herbs and alchemy. And later on, when you go to his hut, you find out he's also a cannibal and that he has been eating the locals. You could kill him, but you could also spare him and gain some knowledge about alchemy. Good news though, even if you spare him, you can still call him a son of a bitch as much as you like.
I'm hungry again. You look Shut up, you son of a bitch. You look pale. Kid? Shut up, you son of a bitch. You look... Shut up, you son of a bitch.
Once Geralt gets reunited with his old friends, they decide to throw a party, and Geralt needs a +1. The game gives you 3 choices. The first and most logical one is inviting Geralt's old friend from the books, Sultan Shivay. The second choice is inviting a religious radical. And finally the third choice, which is inviting an escort.
Care to come to a house party?
Anything for you, and I'll give you a good price. Say 100 orens?
Each member will present different conversations, reactions from the other guests, and each will ask you to steal something different from the granny living downstairs. Try not to be caught.
What? You...
Not true.
Out! Don't let me see you again!
The Witcher at its best is about choices and consequences, and that no matter what you do there will be consequences, and there will usually be 2 to 3 choices to choose from in a quest. The first 2 will be between 2 opposing sides you have to choose from, and the third option will be neutrality. The best example of this in The Witcher 1 is the struggle between the Order of the Flaming Rose and the Scoia'tael. The world was originally ruled by the elder races, meaning the dwarves, gnomes and elves. Then the humans arrived, along with the monsters, and the elves fought to wait it out, considering humans only live to, at most, 70 years, let alone 40. But to their surprise, the humans kept multiplying, along with the monsters, and dominated the world. The remaining non-humans either witnessed oppression and segregation, or got somewhat along living with the humans, while the rest simply lived in their own societies. The Scoia'tael are a terrorist group seeking to reclaim the rights and glory of past non-humans, and will stop at nothing even if it means killing civilians, and are in general hostile towards humans no matter what, and that despite being made up of all kinds of non-humans, the leadership is dominated by elves, despite elves not making up the majority of non-humans in the world. Makes you think. And actually, most other non-humans seem to get along fine with the humans, or just create and continue living in their own societies. It's mostly just the elves starting a lot of shit, and raging over past failures, and calling humans the D-word. Us humans don't need a slur, calling them elf is enough, and that way they can't reclaim any racial slurs later on. The Order, meanwhile, follows the religion of the Eternal Flame, and seek to spread their beliefs to the populace, while protecting them from monsters, bandits, and heretics, including non-humans. Basically, they are like the Scoia'tael, just on the side of humanity. So in essence, it's like this.
Which Minecraft player are you? Tag your friends down below. The racist. The racist. Steve.
So which side do you choose? Well, it depends. Are you racist? Do you want to be? For the lols? The Order represents an end to the Scoia'tael and their attacks on human settlements, and the result of said Scoia'tael attacks on human settlements help further increase hatred for non-humans, but siding with the Order will result in the continued oppression of non-humans. If you support the Scoia'tael, you will help them achieve victory over the Order and gain momentary peace with the humans. And momentary because the humans soon finish their reread of the Witcher books and remember the truth about the elves.
What makes you elves tick?
It's easy to side with the non-humans, but hard to side with the elves, and therefore the Scoia'tael when you've read the books and know the truth about the elves. Also, watch this clip of me being attacked by fish people, while the elves just fish instead of helping. Even without all the book stuff, elves are just cunts about everything. They're like the mean gay kids you knew in high school, but now with pointy ears and bows instead of a nicotine addiction. You can't say that the Order is better than the Scoia'tael, and in fact, no matter which of these factions you choose, the fight between humans and non-humans will continue. And staying neutral won't make much of a difference either, but that doesn't mean your choices don't have any effect on the story. In fact, they have both small and major effects on the story and gameplay, just not any effects in the grand scheme of the overall Witcher world, for the most part at least. There's not a true path, and there's no right choices. Geralt as a Witcher fits perfectly in the conflict between the Order and the Scoia'tael, because he is human, but not quite at the same time. And depending on the situation, he will either be put in on the non-humans or humans, and therefore he doesn't have somewhere to place himself in, and because of that, he can relate to both groups. Rookies to the series will instinctively choose to side with the Scoia'tael because they are the underdogs, while many others will simply stay out of the conflict. Meanwhile, elf-hater chads like myself will side with the Order.
Geralt, you support this lousy anti-elven propaganda?
Mostly because it's really funny, but also because Siegfried, religious extremist, bowl cut, and an absolute bro. Siegfried is someone you want by your side. Friendly. So friendly in fact, that he sees past Geralt being a Witcher, meaning not completely human, and even asks him to join the Order, despite being firm in his beliefs. Siegfried is someone that just wants the best for humanity, but being part of the Order, can he truly be called a good guy? The Witcher series' greatest strength lies in its cast of diverse characters. Diverse meaning character traits and personality, not appearances. It has about as much diversity on that front as a stroll through rural Poland. And this is what the game writers captured best when adapting the books. The characters. The characters of The Witcher feel like real people. They want to go to the inn and get smashed with their friends. They complain about the small things. They're both political but also apolitical. And most of them can't be called good or evil, but fall into a grey area. And you need only listen to a few conversational exchanges between each to place them as a person and get a real feel for them. Saying that, it doesn't sound like The Witcher's characters are very complex, but that is far from the truth. It's just that The Witcher masters writing that is down to earth and to the point, but not at the cost of complexity. It's efficient. The Witcher delivers its information in such a way that you understand it immediately, but doesn't dwell on it or adds any unnecessary information. There are many books that are point of view, and that have perspectives from multiple characters, but fail to make the reader truly get the characters, but The Witcher does, even without point of view.